Hello everyone, I'm Forrest McFreelova, and this is Speedplay Netherlands number 8. So, diplomatically, we're in a bit of a bad spot. France has ended their alliance with us as part of the peace deal in the war that we didn't actually help them in. That isn't too much of an issue, though. We will be able to get our alliance back. At this point, we're going to just focus on attacking these native nations, as we're just hemorrhaging money. We have 6 or 7 colonists right now going around. We only actually have a limit of 2, so since it exponentially increases, we are hemorrhaging a lot of money by doing that, and our best hope to not go bankrupt is going to be to just attack any native nation that we can, get all of their money, and just keep repeating that over and over again until our colonies finish. Now, unfortunately, we do get a native uprising, which slows down that colony, and is basically just the least productive thing that could possibly happen right now. Luckily, there are a few native nations near our colonial nations that we can just go ahead and attack. I don't imagine they'll have very much gold, as we have gone to war with them in the past. However, it's really something I would rather try than not. And we do go ahead and get a little bit of money. Realistically, worst case, we'll have to take a few loans, probably go a bit excessively in debt, to be honest, if we don't manage to get a decent amount of money in the very near future. But even if that does happen, we do have a fairly good income, and there are still more native nations that we can go ahead and attack. Now there is Pima over here. We may not have a large enough force to deal with them, but we're going to go ahead and try anyway. And we'll go ahead and just start moving our leaders over. We win the first battle, which is great news. And now it's just a matter of sieging out the various native nations that we are attacking. And once we're done with this and we've managed to level off our budget, we'll probably shift our focus back, at least for the near future. We'll definitely leave a few forces in the New World to just basically pillage any other native nations that we do come across, as this is essentially the best economic thing that we could be doing. We just went a little crazy with the colonies. And they are finishing, so we aren't in too bad of a spot. We'll just be a little more reasonable with them in the future. And we are getting a few colonial nations this go around, which is great news. And I feel like we are giving them fairly decent Dutch-sounding names, although arguably that wasn't quite Central America. And at any rate, we're doing fairly well. We have gotten quite a bit of money, and we are able to get our colonial nation pretty far along, as it now stretches across basically the entire northern area. We are called into another war, which we'll go ahead and start building an army in order to defend our ally in. That is actually a very significant force, so let's go back to the New World. We do discover another colonial nation, which is amazing news. We can go ahead and send our army over to conquer them. Unfortunately, the enemy armies appear to be getting rather close to our country, which is very worrying. We do go ahead and declare that war, and we'll move our army over to Pima, where our initial attack has gone slightly poorly. Meanwhile, in the Old World, we attempt to get a few more ships. Unfortunately, it gets sunk by enemy ships, which is just a rather significant hassle. Our forces in Pima are making gains, and we do go ahead and integrate another colonial or another native nation. Admittedly, since these are so spread apart, it may be rather difficult for our colonial nation to core them, and we may end up having to string colonies over to them again in order to get this to work successfully, which kind of makes me reconsider taking all this land from Pima right now, as it may not actually be a smart long-term investment. As we do want to go ahead and conquer the rest of Mexico as well, and we really wouldn't want to double up on that. Meanwhile, the battle doesn't go entirely well. We retreat our navy, but apparently it's still there, So we just send our navy back and it doubles up in a weird way, which I'm fairly certain was a glitch, but I'm not going to complain about it as we did end up winning because of it. And we go ahead and move our army over so we can declare war on the Mexican native nations. We go ahead and just get Pima to release the areas around them, and we do declare that war. We march our armies over and begin sieging out the natives. And ideally, we'll be able to get our colonial nation in Mexico to just be as close to 100% overextension until the natives are gone. I don't imagine we'll get very much in the way of money from these natives, as they do have a lot of neighbors, and that generally means they end up spending their money. Although our budget concerns are essentially resolved at this point. We did have to take a few loans, but it wasn't too much of an issue. And we do have to deal with a weirdly friendly group of rebels that we aren't actually able to attack. But I imagine they'll take care of themselves in the near future, and they did go ahead and get destroyed. So at this point, we'll just continue to mop up in colonial Mexico. We do get another call to arms, which we go ahead and answer. And at this point, it really looks as though it's a bit unfortunate that Spain is here in force. They are our ally, so we can't actually declare war on them to take their belongings in the New World. Admittedly, we could, but it just seems like a bit of a bad idea. And even worse, since we do have a colonial nation bordering one of theirs, there is actually a fairly decent chance that they will get into a war and break our alliance with the Spanish, which would be just distinctly unfortunate. I noticed that Shawnee got a bit of its land back, so we go ahead and declare war on them. And we go ahead and integrate one of these Central American nations, which gives us a border on another one, so we go ahead and just attack them right off the bat. And with that done, we're nearly through sieging out these areas. And we can set up a colony on the west coast of the United States, so we can go ahead and hopefully get another colonial nation in a little while. And I go ahead and attempt to get the best peace deal possible without putting our colonial nation here over 100% overextension by too much. So we go ahead and just have them end a few treaties and take all that land. Hopefully our colonial nation will be able to deal with that. They still won't be able to core those two northern provinces, and that's actually just going to be a bit of an issue. We do start building up another army in the old world, as we may have to actually fight off the enemies in this war, as much as I am opposed to that. Meanwhile, there are revolts in our Mexican colonial nation, which is just terribly unfortunate. Although we do have a strong enough force nearby, we should be able to deal with it. And they do have some forces of their own. Meanwhile, we do get our alliance with the French back. And what we're going to do is just take a look at what we're able to do in the near future. The English do hate us quite a bit, and honestly I don't feel comfortable moving into the Holy Roman Empire, as that would call a very powerful nation in. But we do have a reason to declare war on England. We do ally the Scots, and we start moving our forces over into Scotland. The idea is essentially going to be that we're going to raise a significant army, ideally larger than the English can bring to bear against us. Our colonial nation will deal with English Mexico. We'll bring all of our forces over to Great Britain, although we do have to deal with a slight rebellion really quickly. The Scots will help us, as will the French in mainland Europe. And I think that in the long term, our best bet in order to expand and to have a thriving empire is going to be to destroy the English, as we've had a lot of trouble defending our mainland, and England is an island nation. They have a very powerful navy. As long as they exist, we'll have to deal with a neighbor that has a massive powerful navy, as well as German neighbors that have massive powerful armies. So if we can just take care of the English, take over their lands, we'll hopefully be able to get the massive powerful navy and also have an area that our land-focused neighbors won't be able to take from us. At least not easily. So we go ahead and we do declare that war and start moving our forces over against the English. We immediately lose a naval battle, which is rather unfortunate. And we go ahead and just prepare to fight. They do attack us in a bit of an unfortunate way, but we can bring our reinforcements quickly enough. And unfortunately, due to the way that these fort mechanics work, we can't just chase their army down and destroy it. Which is a bit unfortunate, but a necessity of fighting this war. And it looks as though they are just going up. We do attack them, and it does go very successfully. We do, however, have to go through and just siege out their forts before anything else. Overall, though, it is going fairly well. We can go ahead and peace out with the Swiss, and that just limits the amount that we actually have to worry about. Ideally, I want to take over a province bordering the Irish, as well as one bordering the Scots, as the best bet for actually taking over Great Britain is going to be to vassalize everyone who is in England, and just feed them the lands that belong to the English. Unfortunately, we can't stack wipe their army, as we do have to deal with the siege of London. We send a few of our forces out to just siege over all the provinces that don't have a fort. The English send their army up at one of our forces, and we just retreated away. And it should ideally be safe. They do end up going after a different force. We send our men in piecemeal. It does work, but a little bit less efficiently than I would like. And unfortunately, they drop a second army, and we reinforce slightly poorly. We are able to get there in time. If we can stack wipe this, we do have a chance. Unfortunately, they bring their reinforcements up, and in the New World, we're not doing too well either. As well, it does look as though they are following us. Our colonial nations aren't holding their own, and they are just trying to chase us and stack wipe our army. Apparently, they have nothing stopping them from doing that. We can get this one province, though, and that's all we need. It's next to Connaught. It's just one sea lane apart, and it borders Scotland. So hopefully we can integrate them and vassalize them. Alternatively, we may have to do it militarily, although that shouldn't be too much of a problem. The Scottish are, however, allied to the French, so we'll have to find a way to break that apart. So, thank you very much for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. And next time, what we're going to do is find a way to get into a war against Scotland without having the French join them.